We have the pleasure today of speaking with Janet Diaz-Bonilla, the founder and CEO of La Mariolita Rum. In addition, Janet's a writer and an entrepreneur. I'd go further, but I'm going to let her tell her story in her own words. Janet, welcome. So happy to meet you. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedule. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Robert, for having me. I really appreciate you and featuring our brand. It's an awesome honor. Thank you.
So I'm just going to jump right in. La Mariolita is more than just a rum. It's a narrative in a bottle. Can you share how your personal journey from Cuba to the US inspired this venture?
Yes, that is a very extended, long story. And I'm going to try to give you the cliff notes on that. La Mariolita came about because, as you mentioned, I am a writer, and I arrived into this country in 1980 during an exodus that is known as the Mariel boat lift. And many people know what that is for what it is, and more people know about it because of the movie Scarface, the sensationalized version of what that exodus was, right? And so I've lived with that narrative for over 45 years. And it got to a point, I think, in my adult life that I thought, there's two sides to every story, and there's definitely many sides to this exodus. A lot of Cubans don't even know why that exodus happened. They don't know about the ambush at the Peruvian embassy that in Cuba, that was what provoked the Mariel boat lift exodus in the first place. They just go straight to the criminals and the delinquents that came into the US, which is definitely part of the story, which is definitely accurate. However, it was an incredibly small amount. It was over 125,000 Cubans, and an incredibly small percentage of them were actually delinquents. But that's besides the point. Even if it was the majority, it's still just one perspective. And certainly I don't fall into that category. My parents did not fall into that category. My father was a political prisoner. He was also a dentist. He was definitely not a drug dealer, trafficker like this character in the Scarface movie was. So what happened in Cuba was there was an ambush at the Peruvian embassy in 1980, April 1st, where 6 Cubans rammed the bus into the embassy looking for political asylum. The ambassador at the time gave them the political asylum. Other Cubans on the island started to find out that these 6 Cubans were given the asylum and were being held at the Peruvian embassy. And they started to show up at the embassy. Fidel Castro took away the guards from the embassy because the ambassador told Castro, I am going to take them in and give them the asylum. In retaliation, he took away all the guards and left the embassy basically naked. So now you have Cubans climbing the walls, climbing the fences, climbing the trees, just thousands of them swarming the embassy, looking for asylum, trying to get out of the country. This ambassador is taking in Cubans. He's reaching out to other countries. It just really became an out of control situation for him, unfortunately. And eventually he reached out to the US. At the time, it was Jimmy Carter's administration. And Jimmy Carter's administration said we would take 3,500 political prisoners, which at the time, obviously my father having been a political prisoner, so he was one of the people allowed to come, right? But at the end of the day, Castro said, whoever wants to leave can leave. Tell your family to come, bring a boat and come get you. The Mariel is called the Mariel because we left out of the port of Mariel, Cuba. The boats would come, family members like my family went to go get us, and they put 40 delinquents in their boat, and they put us in another boat. I was 6 years old. I finally made it onto a vessel. It's a very, very long story, but I finally made it onto a vessel. 17 hours later, it was a horrific journey. We arrived in Key West during the week of the McDuffie riots here in Miami. So now we arrived in May 17. And that's the week that I think it was 2 officers were acquitted of the McDuffie murder December the year before, so 1979. And so now Miami is rioting, and Tent City is full because now Cubans have been coming in since, mid-April. And now, between the riots and Tent City being full, they started to send Cubans that were coming into the country to different military bases across the nation, right? So some people went to Wisconsin. I went to Arkansas. We went to a base called Fort Chaffee, Arkansas, to see who we were. The administration wanted to know, who are these people? Are they here because they were political prisoner against Castro, or are they here because they were murderers in Cuba and now Fidel sending them over to me, which is effectively what Fidel did, right? He did do that. We were there for 54 grueling days where it was atrocious, and we were having rioting inside the camps for children. You can just imagine it. This is the demographic that really gets traumatized and hurt, right? Obviously, it's traumatizing, but the children that have lived a very sheltered life and have never been exposed to having to sleep with other people they don't know in cots in the same place and having to shower with other women. In my case, I had to shower with all these women and my mother, and it was a horrific experience. So finally, we made it over here 54 days later. I arrived July 8th. And during the pandemic, I wrote a screenplay. I've written 2 books, some short films, one that was produced in 2021 about Alzheimer's called The Longest Daydream. I wrote a screenplay about the Mario boat lift to maybe purge myself, but also give another perspective, more of the political aspect and the political side, more of an accurate point of view of what that was. Like, why is it called the Mariel? Well, we left out of the Mariel port. And even Cubans don't know that story. It's and Scarface. It's been sensationalized. It's a classic movie, and I enjoyed it very much. Pacino did a phenomenal job, but it really hurt us as a community. It tainted what this was. Just like any exodus or immigration, the bad stuff is easier to believe. Not everybody comes to this country to steal your lunch money. A lot of people just come to work and make a better life for themselves. At the end of the day, we came in legally, like the administration said we can come and gave us permission to come. So I don't consider myself that I came in here illegally. I was given residency upon arrival. I wrote a screenplay and I sat on it for months thinking I don't have $15 million to produce this movie. Being that it is a very political movie, it's hard to get a screenplay of that type produced, not have executive producers wonder who are we going to piss off and who's not going to give us money later because we produced this.
Right.
So I knew that was probably not going to happen straight away. And then I thought for months about the screenplay that I really wanted to do something with. And then it became so much more than just words on paper for me. It became something that controlled my every thought. I really wanted to have something left for my children that would give them a positive view of what their mother had gone through versus the negative narrative that has followed me and whoever came in the Mario boat lift all our lives. And, it wasn't just the journey of coming over here. It was everything I endured after being here. After I arrived in July, it was a summer, and they took us to my parents and family took us to a private school to enroll me. And it was a Catholic school. And the head, the principal met with us and said, the headmistress, whatever. She met with us and she's like, I can't have her here. I can't enroll her in the school because the other parents, mostly Hispanic, they don't want their children mixing in with the Mariolita kids. So it was a hard stigma for a long time. Wanted to do something for my kids to have that mean something, that I went through this and for me selfishly, that I went through this experience for a reason. And so maybe the screenplay will get produced one day, maybe it won't, but I created something more of a legacy now than anything else. So then that's a whole other story, right? That's a whole other journey. I didn't know anything about rum. Obviously, I'm a writer. So that was a whole learning process too.
How did that early experience of that harrowing trip from Cuba to Key West shape your entrepreneurial spirit?
I didn't know I had an entrepreneurial spirit, to be perfectly honest with you. I've always been a bit of a dreamer. I'm a writer. I loved writing since I was very young because it gave me an outlet, because I was here alone. I had my family in Cuba. It was just my parents and I for a very long time until extended family started to arrive. Yeah, we had other family here in Miami, but it wasn't the same. And I think it was an outlet for me. I've always been very fascinated with psychology and writing. And I think a lot of that, after years of understanding myself, has to do with understanding myself. It was a way for me to have free therapy, I guess you can say. I can learn psychology and learn how to analyze myself and why I was inclined to the things that I was inclined to, like writing. I've always been a super great loner. I've never been entrepreneurial per se, but I always thought if I wanted to do, I can do it. I can try at least. And so maybe that comes from my parents and having the courage to come here and start from nothing.
Sure.
I guess you can say cliche that I fell into it. And so then I just sort of figured it out. And I guess I do consider myself a pretty strong person, and you have to be pretty strong to endure what I did and to sort of head a company too. It's been a learning process, and I learn every day. I'm never the smartest person in the room, and I don't want to be. Like Confucius says, if you're the smartest person in the room, then you're in the wrong room. So I've always tried to be in rooms where I'm learning.
Sure. My father is from South Africa. He came here in 1953. He became a college professor, came here as a student, and eventually became a college professor. It's amazing how immigrants have such a strong entrepreneurial spirit in the United States. They're much more pull yourself up by your bootstraps kind
I
of.
think we appreciate it more, right?
Yeah,
We appreciate what it is not to be it, and not to be able to have the opportunity to do it, and not
right.
to be able to have what we need or what we want, whatever that may be. And so I think that that's the drive,
Yeah.
that
And
maybe we're not better entrepreneurs, but we are definitely more appreciative of what it is not to be able to have something.
yeah, I think drive is the key word there. It's really interesting. So let's talk about La Mariolita 18-year-old rum. The
Is the
term
term?
gusano, which is a Spanish word for worm, transformed
Yeah.
into butterfly in your branding. Can you unpack that metamorphosis for us?
So gusanos is what we were called, like, basically the scum of the earth, I guess you can
Boy,
say. That's what we were called by Cubans, by our
wow.
own people in Cuba, because that's the narrative that Fidel Castro at the time drove into the island, right? That we were leaving because we were the scum of the earth and he didn't want us there, and we were traitors and we were criminals. And so he took to calling us gusanos, which is worms,
Hmm.
and that's how he turned the people that were for him against us. So that divide, right, is when that it just emphasized that divide even more. And as it is today, I do feel and see that divide still alive and well. Unfortunately, we don't have that unity I wish we had. Since the beginning of his reign, even after his death, it's been so ingrained in us that you have to be with him or you're the scum of the earth. It's that we don't have that unity that we should have as a country. It's always going to be the Cubans, even for us here, right? The Cubans that came in Pedro Pan, the Cubans that came in the freedom flights, the Cubans that came in the Mario boat lift, the Cubans that came as balseros, and now the Cubans that are coming in, whatever, the new wave Cubans. So there's always a category going on. And so the Cubans that came in through Peter Pan really were incredibly wealthy Cubans in Cuba, the ones that sustained the economy of Cuba, that figured it out early on that this is going to hell and we need to get out of here before this crap hits the fan. And
Yeah.
so those are the ones that left. So now you have all these wealthy Cubans that were allowed to take a lot of their possessions with them. These are the children that were sent to different places in the US. Then there was a Freedom Flights Cuban that still they were allowed to take possessions with them and so forth and so on. And then came us. So we were the leftovers by then. It was 1980. Communism was alive and well. There was a lot of scarcity at this point. So he took all of this to his advantage. I mean, Fidel or that government, right? That regime
Right. Yeah.
took that to their advantage and said, these people are like nothing. They're crap. They're worms. They don't want to be here. They're against us. And I'm trying to do something great. And they're just holding us down. And that night that we left, actually, like they threw rocks at us. They threw eggs, children. When we arrived at this processing camp area, they had children line up and spit at us, and it marked me because I'm a child too, right? So there's
Right.
certain, like, I don't remember the whole journey, but I do remember like certain little like snippets. I have like the children spitting and throwing eggs at us because they were my age, and it marked me.
Hmm. Wow.
And so that's where the term gusano comes from. And I guess it's so poignant for me because the whole story, right? Like coming from something that was perceived to be garbage to now be the only Cuban American woman in the world that has ever founded a rum brand is, to me, sort of like the American dream. So the story itself, I guess you can say, is, from a gusano to a butterfly, because the rum, the brand is, right? Not me, but the
Right.
brand is.
That's great.
I'm more of a moth at this point.
So you collaborated with the legendary Don Pancho. How do y'all meet?
I collaborated with him by mistake because I didn't even know that he would be there. My husband and I, once I put a plan together, and with him, you have to, my husband was a financial advisor. Now, obviously, he works with me, but initially, when I started to think about this and put this together in my head and realize how insane this was, I knew I couldn't tell him because I'm a little bit of a dreamer. He is supportive and he tries to appease me and sit there and listen. I knew that I had to come with something concrete to him. So I put this plan together and I did a lot of research for about 3 months before I actually approached him. My husband is from Nicaragua and he has family in Nicaragua. I contacted his cousin and told him, this is what I want to do. And he said, before you do anything, let me talk to somebody he knows that is very well versed in rum. We set up a call and spoke to him for a long time. We knew there was this place in Panama that we could have this rum created. From the research I had done within those 3 months, I had spoken to distilleries locally here in Miami and Puerto Rico and in the Dominican Republic. From this like little bit of information that I had managed to gather, I had never even considered Panama at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I had considered the Caribbean, but I really hadn't considered Central America. We spoke for a little while and he said, we have something very special in Panama, but he didn't tell me what it was. Aside from the fact that they have this very special something in Panama, they also have one of the largest, I think it's the third largest reserve of aged rum in the world. They have over 200 and something thousand barrels of aging rum. I wanted something incredibly aged. And what I kept running into in these other distilleries was, okay, we can provide you with maybe like an 8-year rum, which is fine, but I wanted something aged. And maybe we can provide you with like a 10 or 12-year rum, and it would be still a Solera. And I didn't want a Solera. I wanted a true age spirit. And I knew that it was going to cost us more money, obviously, but I didn't have to make a rum. So I was either going to do it right or I wasn't going to do it at all. We don't come from a rum family. We're not rummeliers. We don't come from this legacy and lineage of rum makers. So to me, it was like, I don't have anything to prove at this point. I just have to create something amazing and take it from there. We went to different places in the Caribbean. This person we spoke to said, why don't you go visit these distilleries, talk to them, see, because I know that when you come to Panama and you see what we have, this is where you're going to create your rum. We spoke to these people in Puerto Rico. We visited, we went to the Caribbean, and here in Miami, the distillery that I had spoken to, and it just, Panama kept like, what is this something special? It wasn't just like the barrels of rum, the aging that I could create. And he wouldn't tell me what it was. So finally, in December 2021, we booked a flight to Panama. We went to the distillery and into the conference room. In walks this, at the time, 83-year-old force of nature. I had no idea who he was, honestly. I had never heard of Don Pancho. I've never seen him in any pictures. I had no clue. And he walks in and he's just immediately, I don't know if you've met him.
I have not.
You've met him. Oh, he is just an incredible presence. He just commands authority. He's a light and he's special. He's like a gift, a luxury. And so, we get up and we shake his hand, not knowing who he is. Then they introduce him. This is Don Pancho. He is known as the godfather of rum, and he's Cuban. And that's all you had to say to me. Where do I sign?
That's great.
How much is it going to cost me? How in debt are we going to be? So we sat down and we talked for a very long time. I explained to him. He explained to me his journey, how he immigrated to Panama in the mid-'80s. Obviously, he's been a rum maker for over 60 years. His father was a rum maker. When his father passed, he stayed in control in Cuba until he was able to immigrate to Panama. His whole story, which I have no business telling, it's his story to tell. But I will, he did immigrate to Panama in the late 80s. And I told him what I wanted. I told him that I didn't want to create a Solera rum. I didn't want the rums that are popular but are not necessarily good. I wanted something very well made. I didn't want something with additives. I didn't want something with added sugar, that beyond of whatever is accumulated through aging. I wanted something as pure as alcohol can be, right? Because we all know drinking is not good for you. This is no secret. I tell people that all the time. The drinking is not good for you. If you can avoid it, by all means, avoid it because it's not good for you. But if I was going to create something in good conscience, I was not going to create something to add on to the crap that is already out there, to be perfectly honest with you.
Sure.
It is hard for us as a small brand competing with monsters
Yeah.
that going every day to restaurants and tell bar owners and tell bartenders, hey, if you serve La Marielita, we're going to take away this and this. It's a beautiful business because it is creative. As a writer, I'm very drawn to that aspect of it, but it's a very dirty business, especially for a woman.
Your rum is aged 18 years in American white oak barrels, previously used to mature bourbon. It is additive free, like you mentioned. What
Yes.
drove the decision to maintain such a high purity standard?
The fact that if I'm going to change a perspective of what the Mario boat lift was, and if I'm fighting so hard to show you another side of the story, I can create a product that isn't exceptional. So again, obviously it cost us more as a company, but we started with a very small batch initially.
Mhm.
I think we only made like
What's your production now?
a lot more, and it's
Right.
6 units per week. We've definitely surpassed that for sure. We have a very small distributor that takes small brands. And when you start out, none of these big, Southern, Breakthrough, RNDC, whatever, they're not looking at you.
Right.
This
Yeah.
is like they want to see production, they want to see sales, they want to see, how much time, has it taken you to enter the market and actually
Right.
have an impact on how are you moving it. So none of these people are going to pay attention to you. Ironically, Southern did pay attention to us. And I think it was the story that initially grabbed their attention. It's the right story in the right place.
Yeah.
Right. So I knew that much. I didn't know what kind of a pull I was going to have or what kind of success I was going to have if I didn't back it up with a great product. Because you can have a great story, be in the right place, and it could be the right time. And if you have a crap product, eventually it's going to catch up with you, right? You can have a ton of money for marketing, but you can only fool some of the people some of the time, but not all of the people all of the time. So eventually, and I'm seeing it now with very popular brands, people are starting to, we're starting to hear through our ambassadors, hey, I had a tasting or an event this weekend and I was told, hey, we don't buy this anymore. Maybe they don't buy mine, but they're buying better. It doesn't, you don't have to buy mine, but at least educate yourself. And when we do it, we do some educational classes sometimes. I always tell, I'm not here to tell you to push my rum on you. I'm just here to tell you what we created. This is what we created. There are great, exceptional rums out there.
Right.
There are great, exceptional bourbons and whiskeys and scotches out there. If you're going to drink, and drinking is not good for you, just drink well. If you're going to pay $120 for a bottle that says XO, what is that? What are you drinking? Do you know?
Yeah.
You're just paying $124 or $120 because somebody marketed in a way that has convinced you through subliminal messages that this is what you should be drinking. Do you know what is XO? For all you know, it could be an 8-year rum with 30 grams of sugar.
Sure. Yeah.
Paying $120 when you can pick up La Marielita or other brand for under $60 and have a true age spirit, because they are out there. It's not just mine that's a true age. It's rare, but Don Pancho has amazing rums that are true age spirits. These are not soleros. So it's out there. You just have to educate yourself. Just know what you're drinking. If you don't care, drink whatever's marketed that you think it's cool. And I'm drinking this because it's cool, right? Like people do it all the time. I want to drink and I want to eat. When I go to a place to eat, I don't care that it's popular. I don't care that it's trendy. In fact, I don't even like the trendy places. I want a place that has good food, that I'm going to pay for something good, that it's going to be a great experience.
Yeah.
And so I feel the same way.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right? A great experience. I don't care if it's a hole in the wall or if it's in a posh area of the city. If it's going to be a great experience, that's where I'm going to be. I don't care that it's trendy. I'm not trendy. I'm not fashionable. I've always been so.
The holes in the wall are always the best places.
Those are the best places. Yeah. They really are.
Well, let's try some. I just happen to have a bottle right here. It's a little early, but you can't day drink if you don't start in the morning.
I'm not judging us.
One of the reasons that I got into the industry was because I have a good sense of smell and flavor recognition. We actually partner with a company in Scotland called Aroma Academy, who are the global leader in aroma recognition training systems. And we're the exclusive distributor in the United States of the Aroma Academy aroma recognition training kits. We've got a rum kit, we've got other kits, but we're talking about rum today. Our training kits have 24 of the signature aromas that are found in rums. And it goes from agricole, banana, burnt rubber, fusel oils, spice, tobacco, toffee, all the usual suspects. That's how I trained, and how I trained my nose. I train with these every day, and that's how I'm going to go through this and take a little taste here. But first, we're going to nose it. And interesting, you should use both nostrils because your dominant nostril changes every 3 hours. So it'll change from your left to right every 3 hours or right to left.
And this is what we do when we're doing, first it took 37 profiles to get to this 18 year. So it took us about 8 months working with Pancho to get to this one. And we had to really learn about how to smell.
Yeah.
How to smell. Such a simple term, but it's so complex.
Well, the thing that people don't understand is that your tongue can only recognize 5 flavors: salty, sweet, sour, bitter, and umami. Everything else you perceive as flavor comes from your olfactory system. You've got your orthonasal, which goes through your nose, your retronasal, the passage at the back of your tongue that goes up to your olfactory bulb. And that's how you perceive flavors. Your olfactory system is multiple orders of magnitude more sensitive than your taste buds. That's why we emphasize training your aroma recognition skills for not just rum, but all wines and spirits. So anyway, let's dive in. That's so good.
Yes, I agree.
I get a burnt toffee.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely the oak. The 18 years in wood is going to definitely influence it.
Mm-hmm.
Some dark sugars, some soft cocoa, maybe an undertone of key lime, maybe some pineapple. Really just hints. It's really bright, really bright.
Very full.
All right, let's give it a taste. It is time. That's my dog, Phantom. He's my assistant today.
I have mine
In the
on
background.
begging to come in. And I should tell you that there's 19 and 21 in this blend as well. Very small percentages.
Ah, got it.
And that was to add to smoothness and not having to add additional sugar.
Yeah.
I'm super transparent because I feel like rum is not regulated, as we know, and so many brands are lying to consumers. It's upsetting. Maybe because I didn't grow up in the business, I'm not jaded yet, and I'm not out there lying to people. Hopefully, I don't turn into that. I don't think I will, because if I haven't at 52 years old turned into a merciless liar, I don't think I will at this point. But we have 10 grams of naturally derived sugar per liter. Obviously, we don't sell liters. We sell 750 mLs. So there's 7.5 grams of sugar per bottle because it stays in that barrel for 18 years at least. There's also 19 and 21 in the blend. When it comes out of the barrel, it is measured. And whatever it is, it is. Nothing is additionally done to it. Pancho uses his own yeast that he's been using for over 60 years now. His own yeast formula. So that also obviously has definitely influenced these notes that you're picking up.
Sure. Boy, that's really velvety and complex. It's got a lot of vanilla. Mm-hmm. It's got brown sugar, cocoa, coffee bean. Get a lot of orange blossoms, some hazelnut. Yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, we said it at the same time. Orange blossom.
Yeah, definitely. Some tobacco, some caramel. Almost a touch of tarragon.
And it's an exceptional old fashioned.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing against bourbon or whiskey, but it makes an exceptional old fashioned.
I can see that.
Tobacco bitters, chocolate bitters, exceptional.
Wow. So the finish is really smooth and balanced. I'm getting a lot of chocolate and some gentle spice. It's really refined. It's a wonderful.
Ultra premium product, and we stand by it and incredibly proud of it. And in 2023, Robb Report awarded us with the best new rum And that was incredibly surprising. Not that we won, but that they noticed us because in 2023, we had only been out for a year.
Right. That really is a testament to your pursuit of a high quality, ultra premium product. So the notes of burnt toffee, cocoa, hazelnut, was all that deliberate or was it serendipity?
I think it was serendipity,
Mm-hmm.
to tell you the truth. I don't think any of this was deliberate, other than wanting to create a product that could carry on a story and ultimately become a legacy later.
Sure.
But my legacy, I guess, but it was not deliberate. Like I said, we tried 37 different profiles before we arrived at this. We had groups of friends that would come in every so often and just murder their liver for us. This ended up being the winning profile because it was so complex and yet so smooth at the same time. I always say this, and I'm going to get sued by Secret Deodorant, but I always say I wanted something that was strong enough for a man because you guys like your alcohol strong, but smooth enough for a woman to also sit with her man and not be turned off, be able to have this in common
Sure.
with a husband or boyfriend or partner or girlfriend, whoever, and not be turned off by, oh, now I have to sit here and pretend that, I like this thing that's burning my esophagus just to like get this guy to like me,
Sure.
So he can sit there and be like, yeah, cheers, and enjoy it as well. And so I think that if my girlfriends can enjoy it, I felt like I was onto something. So no, it wasn't deliberate. It was definitely the most attractive profile.
That's great.
Definitely the most attractive, full flavor, unintentional flavors, really. It just turned out to be something that very much reminds me of my island at the end of the day. I think that's Don Pancho's hand, maybe
Sure.
his aura, maybe his brilliance. He's just such an exceptional, beautiful human being. He created for us one, two, three, four profiles and is working on an older year for us that we're going to launch next year.
So you're going to expand it. Let's dive into the marketing and some of the story. Humberto Benitez created your label on canvas. How did art and culture influence your branding decisions?
Humberto Benitez and Lisette Benitez, I'm so glad you brought them up. They have a beautiful gallery called Benitez Art Gallery in Coral Gables, Miami. He's an exceptional human being. So is his wife. She's a driving force. I think that he would agree when I say that she is the driving force of that man. And
Isn't
I hope we can
everyone?
show him, especially her. And he knows it very well. We've known them for about a little bit over 20 years now. We first became collectors of his art, and then we became friends. And when I thought about the brand and what I wanted the label to represent, I thought of him. But he's an incredibly well-renowned, respected artist. I had to approach it very delicately because he could have said no to me. He could have been like, Shannon, I'm not going to put my art on a bottle. So I had to be very careful and tactful, I think, more than anything else. And presenting this idea to them in that I was going to create a product that they were going to be very proud of. I was not going to create a make-believe product that is lying to people, telling them it's one thing when it's really another, and then putting a bunch of crap in there. I told them about it, and I don't even think they let me finish my sentence when they were already saying, yeah, we'll do it.
That's great.
Mostly probably because we're friends now, first and foremost. My house is like a little gallery of Humberto. And because I think he's just the most exceptional artist, he paints from his soul. And he is so gifted. It's such an honor that he said yes. I drew something for him that I wanted, and he told me, don't ever do that again. Just tell me, and we'll go from there. So I told him what I wanted, and he captured it on the first try. It's an original piece that we have at home, and that we obviously he gave us gracious enough to give us permission to use it on our label. And he also sells reproductions of this original piece at his gallery. It's like a limited edition that he sells, a numbered limited edition that he sells at the gallery of La Mariolita, the painting itself.
Perfect.
And so everything is very represented. It's at night because I came at night. Our boat traveled through the Florida Straits at night. She's in yellow because our patron saint is La Virgen de la Caridad del Cobre, and her color is yellow. You can't see it here, but in the larger painting, she's surrounded by books in the boat because I'm a writer, and it's a wooden boat. My boat was wooden, and the mast, the white mast, sort of envelopes La Mariolita, representing the Virgin Mary. So everything is very representative of, and the ocean. So the ocean is this color, obviously, because it was at night, but also I had a doll. Her name was Lola. And when they came to get us at midnight, I lived with my grandparents and my parents, and they banged on the door that we had to leave. I had started this project with my grandmother a while back. I was 6 years old, maybe a few weeks before. And we were making this little rag doll. What I remember from that night is that I was clutching this doll when all this chaos was going on around me of, getting this and getting that, and we're leaving and people are coming in and out. And I'm just clutching this little doll. We got bombarded with eggs and rocks, got into a taxi cab, drove to this mosquito place, or they took us to this mosquito place. And I'm just clutching my little doll the whole time. And a lot happened, right? It's all in my screenplay that hopefully you'll see one day in the big screen. I don't lose hope. And then the following day, when we were assigned the vessel, obviously it wasn't our family that had come to get us. As we're walking out on the boardwalk to the vessel, one of the guards says to my dad, "Oh, the little doll can't go." And so my dad thinks it's me because I'm 6, right? And he says, "What do you mean? She's my daughter. Of course she's going to go." And he says, "No, not your daughter, the little doll." And so he took my rag doll from me, and I started screaming and crying. "You've taken my family, my country. Now you're taking the only piece that I have." I knew years later that this is what that little doll represented to me. I was clutching her so tight because I knew they're taking everything from me. Consciously, I was a 6-year-old kid, but subconsciously, somewhere I understood, you're taking my country, my grandparents, now my doll that is a representation of all these things that you've already stolen from me.
Yeah.
So the dress that she was wearing was this really brilliant aqua blue dress. And so that's why the ocean is this color. And so he grabbed the doll for me, and as walking toward the vessel, my dad's carrying me. I'm looking at this guard, and he waved her at me and threw it on the floor and stomped all over it. And that's an image, Robert, that I can never, and I sometimes even dream of it still today. I'm 52 years old. I sometimes still have this dream of the doll being shaken in front of me and thrown. So it was really a poignant moment in my childhood.
What pointless cruelty.
Pointless cruelty. Pointless cruelty. And that's what I have to bite my tongue a lot when it comes to Cuban politics, but it's hard not to. This is such a politically driven brand, and I try to stay very neutral sometimes, but other times I have to speak up and say something. Yeah. Because who would I be if I don't do that? My father was tortured in a prison for 4 years, tortured mercilessly. So if anyone can speak of the atrocities that goes on in Cuba to people, it's me and anyone that has any knowledge of what that place represents. When I see events being held there and tourism being flaunted there, and people tell me, "Oh, I went to Cuba and the people are so nice," and inside I'm like, I'm wanting to like gouge my eyes out because I know that they're being nice because they have to be. One, because they need your dollars, and two, because they'll be put in jail if they're not nice to you. They're trained to be nice to you, but then they go back to their miserable lives. It's a miserable state of being, and it's atrocious. I've never been back to Cuba since I left. Out of respect for my father, I've never been back. Just out of respect for myself and my community, I've never been back. There's nothing for me there. It's just a place that represents everything that was taken from us. I have no business there. At the end of the day, I'm so grateful to this country for the opportunities it's given me. I feel like it would really be a slap in the face to this country to go over there as a tourist.
Wow. So you're the first Cuban immigrant woman to found a rum brand. That's groundbreaking. How do you see this influencing the spirits industry and more specifically the rum industry?
I hope in a very positive way that people like me that come to this country, women that come to this country, see that the sky's the limit, really. You just have to think outside the box and do whatever it takes, whatever you can control, whatever you can handle, whatever you're apt to do to make that thing you dream of happen. In my case, my dream was not to create a rum. I don't come from a rum background or my closest connection to a rum background is that my grandfather several businesses confiscated by Castro, and one of them was called Casa Manolo. Casa Manolo would import whiskeys and rums from all over the world before Castro. I do remember him talking about it so much as I was growing up about these businesses that Castro took from him. In particular, this Casa Manolo was like a really popular place in Havana, and he was known as an incredibly sought after collector of whiskeys and rums. So that's really the closest.
He curated every selection that ever entered his shop, correct?
Yes, yeah.
Manolo?
Manolo. And then one day somebody walks in and says, "Hey, Manolo, hand me the keys. You're no longer the owner of this that you created." And he went through that 4 times over. I remember these stories of him. Plus, he did love to drink rum, but he was really mainly a Scotch drinker. To be honest, he was a Scotch man, but he did enjoy a very nice rum from time to time. I created rum maybe because of him subliminally, and because it's so Cuban. And
sure.
But as far as influence, yes, I hope that I would have a positive impact. I think that I'm faced more with skepticism, unfortunately. I've had women journalists that have questioned whether I'm the only one or the first one. That's taken me aback, that as women, we can't support each other truly 100% authentically. So I've had women say, "Are you really the only one?" I'm like, "Well, you're the journalist, Google it. I don't know. Do your research. Do your research. Show me another one.
Yep.
Show me another one." There are women, obviously, in rum, many women in rum, just like there are in bourbon and whiskey. But as far as Cuban American immigrant woman, I am the only one, the first one to do it in the world. I'm very proud of that. It's not like, oh, toot my own horn, but it is what it is. I am the first one. I am the only one at this point, and I hope that there are more. I hope that I do inspire that this male-dominated field will kind of like a good balance, because women, just by nature, have a great taste.
You've got
And we
better
have,
equity systems than men do.
we do. That's physiological.
Yep.
Has nothing to do with anything else. That's just the way it is. And so I hope that, but mostly to see that whatever it is that you want to do, like how I wrote that screenplay, I'm a novelist, not a screenwriter. I taught myself how to write a screenplay. Really, it's just you stopping yourself, whatever you are, male, female, whatever. It's just you stopping yourself a lot of the time. Nobody's stopping you. And, obviously to have the means to do certain things in your life, but hey, find a way if you really want to make that happen. It's not impossible. I tell my kids a story about this girl years ago. Maybe you heard of it. This girl lived in the basement of her high school. I think it was New Jersey. She was homeless and she was in high school, and the custodians would allow her to sleep there at night. And she would go to school there too. But nobody knew that she was sleeping in the basement of this school.
Wow.
Because she was being abused in foster care. And so she ran away, and everybody thought she was with a family, but really she was homeless. During the day she would be at school. The custodians were helping her, like maybe giving her a little money to have food or whatever. And she lived in the basement of the school. And this girl ended up in Harvard, having multiple acceptances to multiple universities. This was like 10 years ago or something like that. And so really, when you hear something like that, and then you come at me and you say, "Oh, I can't do it because,
right.
I'm so sorry."
Yeah.
You can't do it because you don't want to. Because if you really want to.
And I think that speaks to the entrepreneurial spirit. I also have a business called Strategic Tuning. I'm a fractional chief financial officer by trade, but I'm also an author and a wine and spirits educator because of my passion. And me and my group share our passion for wine and spirits with heart, humor, and a hint of rebellion. We enjoy the process. It's ingrained in us, creating products that allow people to appreciate their beverages in a more authentic and educated way. It really gives us joy. And your rum won a 95-point rating from Caribbean Journal. How do you
double at the St. Bart's Caribbean Rum Fest?
So how do you balance that critical acclaim and consumer expectations?
So we don't enter many competitions because, as you know, this is a very pay-to-play business, and I'm not going to fall into that. We entered the Caribbean Rum Awards, which rated us 95 points. The Journal rated us 95 points, and then we won the ultra premium sector of this rum competition. The only reason we entered that particular competition in St. Bart's is because it's rummeliers and it's a blind tasting.
Ah,
There is no pay to play. It's a very serious, well-respected competition. I love that it's by category. You're not competing like with the Soleras, and you're not competing with like the lower years, and the lower years are not competing with the higher years. It's very sectionalized, like ultra premium, premium, Soleras or agricole. It's very well put together, very well organized, and very fair rating and judging. It's blind. So
sure.
it doesn't matter if you pay. That's why we entered it, and we ended up winning double gold there. We beat out rums that have been around for 100 years.
That's incredible.
So that's an incredible honor, obviously. And but it's tough because we're still a small brand. Obviously, we're still clawing our way to the bottom, technically.
The
Oh my
spirits
God.
world is so packed and saturated. The market is saturated with spirits. The distribution game is a racket, and getting into the stores and getting on their shelves, getting any shelf space whatsoever. What sets your rum apart on the shelves and in the glass?
I think definitely quality, but potentially the authenticity of our brand, that it is a true story backed by a true age product. There have been instances where we've come into a bar and or restaurants that promote this in my city, in Miami, really promote this like, oh, we're Cuban, we're very Cuban, we're bringing back the old Cuba, whatever. And then when presented with our rum, yes, it's great, it's delicious, probably one of the best rums we've ever had or potentially have in here. But you know, so and so and so and so said that if we have your rum in a cocktail, they will take away all of this other stuff. Like I said before, it's a very dirty business. It's very hard to get on the shelf. It's even harder to get on a cocktail menu, but we've managed to do it. There are a lot of businesses as well that are ethical, but ethics is lacking in this business big time across the board, not just on premise or off premise, distribution, importation, everything. It's a very tricky industry, and ethics is a huge problem. And it's like I was told once by somebody in the business very high up that left me dumbfounded when she told me, Janet, it's pay to play. So if you pay, you play. And I said, well, I don't pay to play. And I'm not going to keep spoiling these people thinking that I'm going to, you know, dish out, oh, here, put my rum in a cocktail and I'll give you this. No, I'm not doing that. I'm going to retrain you. So it's definitely harder. It's a harder stance that we've taken that
Right.
we're not going to do. We're going to be ethical and correct as we are capable and knowledgeable of being. And that's the only way we know how to be. Maybe because we're not jaded, but we're growing and it's having an impact. So obviously we're doing something right. Off premise has been our strong suit, meaning the liquor stores and so forth. That has been our strong points for us. Also, we came in like during a time that people were starting to come out of their houses. We launched in 2022. So people were still going to the Total Wines and buying, I know, the bottles and bringing it back home and making cocktails for their friends and just sort of hanging out at home. So we decided that we would, you know, sort of get into that off premise, attack that off premise market first.
Sure.
Instead of trying to convince all these, you know, bars and hotels and bar, you know, owners of restaurateurs or groups that, you know, hey, get my rum that you've never heard of versus this other rum that, you know, has a $50 million marketing budget and
Sure.
everybody knows what it is from here to Timbuktu. So, but that rum could be crap and this one could be great, but it's marketing, right? So, and we don't have a $50 million budget for marketing. So it's been challenging, but the correct thing we did as a brand and a company is that we went into the off-premise market first, and I stand by that. I think that any new brand that comes into the market that is not a movie star launching a spirit, because
We got a lot of that in tequila.
we got a lot of that, you know? It's really Gen Z and the millennials that are starting to realize that just because it's being promoted doesn't mean that it's good. Just because this movie star doesn't mean that it's quality. This is the information generation. This
Right.
is the generation that wants information, some kind of substance, some kind of depth, and the Gen Zs mostly. And so that has definitely saved us because we have the story. But I would tell any brand that's coming into the industry to first think about off premise for sure, because it's liquid to lips and you get that in the on premise mostly, but you can also get it at the off premise as well. If you make relationships with the liquor stores and you do tastings for them and you have ambassadors that are servicing these liquor stores, it's a lot of work, but it works. Total Wine has been huge for us. Been great. They have been phenomenal. I think that they respect the authenticity of the brand, the uniqueness of the brand, the fact that we do fulfill a niche for them that they don't necessarily have a lot of, as far as a true aged spirit that is very reasonably priced, under $60. That's unheard of.
Sure.
And sure, we can price it higher and make a higher margin or whatever, but I want it accessible. I want it accessible to most people. I'm not just thinking about the people that can pay $100 bottle. When I was little, my father couldn't pay $100 for a bottle.
Yeah.
I grew up with nothing. So I want most people to be able to acquire our rum. And so, yeah, we could probably make a larger margin, but at the price of having just one demographic,
Right.
enjoy it, not the rest.
It's an excellent product for our cocktail enthusiasts. What's your favorite cocktail that showcases your rum's unique profile?
Old fashioned.
Yeah.
My husband makes it exceptional, but old fashioned for sure. And there's so many bars that make incredible old fashioned with our rum. I can name so many for you, but also an espresso martini.
Nice.
Espresso martinis are delicious with our rum. Nothing against vodka. It's just that rum and coffee ride well together.
Sure.
And
Vodka is a neutral grain spirit. It doesn't have any flavor anyway. So,
yeah, and it's great for many spirits, but for many cocktails, our rum, I guess, because of the profile, the unintentional profile that it has of the toffee, the coffee notes, the tobacco notes, the orange blossom notes, the caramels, and the vanillas, it really vibes well with coffee. So it makes a delicious espresso martini, like exceptional espresso martini. And like I said, old fashioned, it makes a great presidente or Negroni.
mm-hmm.
I think that those would be the 3 or 4 that I would say, like Manhattan, Presidente Negroni, very similar profiles, I think. Spirit forward cocktail. They're kind of similar, those 3, I believe.
Yeah.
And then I would say an old fashioned for sure, hands down, and an espresso martini.
My wife loves old fashions, and I'm in Louisville, Kentucky. Or we're in Louisville, Kentucky, I should say. And so we're in the bourbon capital of the world. And the old fashioned is just, it's the drink.
Try it with we have a recipe on our website. We have recipes on our website.
I've looked at them. They look great.
Try.
I'm going to try most of them. Looking back on your career, what's the most unexpected challenge?
I don't know, Robert. I'm 52. I don't know how much longer I can take. I have 2 kids. It's a lot.
What's the most unexpected challenge and reward you've had in your career?
That's a loaded question. The most unexpected challenge has been to be taken seriously as a woman in this industry. I don't know why I thought that wasn't going to be a big issue. I guess because I grew up being told by a strong mother that I can do anything I wanted to do and just hold my head up high. Nobody has a right to shame me, or that there's nothing I can do that somebody else isn't, can do too, or I can do it, whatever. So I grew up with a very strong female figure that had to be strong because she left everything behind and had to start all over again in this country. My father, the same, but he was softer, actually. My father was a lot more subdued than my mother. She was a force. And I think that the unexpected challenge has been, personally, to be taken seriously as a woman in this industry. And as a brand, to prove that this is a true age, not a Solera process spirit. I have sent restaurants my specification sheet of the distillery, not my formula, but the specifications to prove, just like I had to do for my distributor, that it is a true age, 18-year spirit. That
Right.
is the least, the youngest year in the rum is 18. So right. That has been, I thought, and also I thought I'm in Miami, I'm surrounded by Cubans. This is going to be easy breezy. They're all going to love this product, and maybe they'll love it if they actually gave it a chance.
Sure.
But I still have experienced the pushback, unfortunately, from my own community. I have. And it goes back to that divide that I spoke of earlier.
Mm.
And
You're
I
just
wish it
kind of
was different.
you're a fractioned diaspora.
We are, yeah, for sure. And I see other communities, like the Jewish community, for instance, they're very about helping each other.
Mm.
And just if I'm up, I'm going to pick you up.
Right.
And I'm going to take you with me. And I'm going to take you under my wing. And you're going to come work with me. Or I'm going to help you do this thing that you want to do. I think the African American community is very much the same. They're going to help each other out. And if you're down there and you need a lift, I'm going to lift you up. And even other countries like Colombians and Mexicans, they are very much about uniting, lifting, and promoting each other. And unfortunately for us, it just hasn't clicked.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason. And for me, like if I know that, like for instance, I surrounded myself with Cuban Americans. My artist is a Cuban American. I could have gone to any artist, but why would I go to any other artist when I have the best right here and he's a Cuban American and has all this in common with me? Pancho happened to be a great little secret surprise they had for me. Everything happens for a reason. I don't believe in coincidences. I believe that is because of who I am inside and that I am very much a Cuban woman. I just attracted that for myself, honestly. That I am going to always support my own people and I am going to always pull from my own community. And there are obviously many people like me, but as a community, we are divided. And so that has been a challenge as well. That I think I walk into a restaurant and I think they're going to, carry my rum immediately and they're going to support me. And not so fast, sister. I've walked into there's a place here in Miami that is awesome. They own several places, but they own a restaurant called Bay 13. They also own a restaurant called Cucina Povera, and they own Threefold Cafe. They're Australians, and they have been exceptional with us in our brand. I can't thank them enough, really. That's just one example. There are Cubans that have embraced us for sure, absolutely. But it's been a challenge. That has been a eye-opening, unfortunately, challenge.
So, what have been the unexpected rewards?
And the unexpected rewards, is that what I just mentioned, that other countries have been like, hey, we love your product and we're not Cuban, but we think this is phenomenal. We're going to take it and put it in a cocktail and tell everybody about it. I thought that this demographic was going to be the force behind my brand. They have been supportive, but honestly, the most successful support for us has been other communities that have embraced this brand so beautifully.
That's
and the story that it represents.
That's awesome. So, what's next for you and your brand? Are there any new expressions? You mentioned that you're working on some other ages. Any new ventures on the horizon? Any new books? Any new screenplays or plays?
I'm still trying to find that person that's going to be like, yes, here, Janet, take $15 million. Let's make your Mariolita movie. I don't know if that's going to happen before I turn 100, but hopefully. So like I mentioned before, we have other expressions that Don Pancho has finalized for us. We're going to launch a much younger year by the end of the year, much younger because restaurants and bars have requested a younger year so we can do everyday cocktails. This is not an everyday cocktail rum. This is a high-end spirit sipping rum more than anything else.
Yeah.
You can't put Coke in that because it's devastating to even think about that. But it's very forward, like an espresso martini or an old fashioned, but don't put Coke in there. First of all, you're not going to taste the rum. You're just going to have a really, weird tasting Coke.
Somebody asked Jimmy Russell, they had one of his I think that it was their Russell's Reserve 10-year. He said, what would you do if somebody poured Coke in your Russell's Reserve? And he said, I'd thank them for buying a Wild Turkey product.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, totally.
But I think it would be a crime to.
Yeah, I'm very honest with that too.
If you could share a glass of La Mariolita with anyone, past or present, who would it be and why?
Grandfather.
Manolo?
For sure. I think that he is so vibrant in me and he is such a reason of why I am who I am. He passed away when I was in my early 20s, and it was one of the most difficult times of my life. We were separated for 8 years when we arrived into this country. I remember the night that we left, I asked them both, when am I going to see you again? I said, oh, we'll see you tomorrow. It was an 8-year journey to see them again. But then we lived together, they lived with us. He was such an incredible, brilliant, deep, kind, gentle soul. And he, I think, inadvertently, without even trying, instilled so many qualities that I didn't even know that I had until I started this journey. Because I am innately, believe it or not, a very shy person. I'm very introverted. With my friends, I am the life of their party because I want to make other people feel happy and comfortable. And that's just my kind of nature. But
Sure.
with people that I've known for over 20 years, when I'm in a situation where I have to speak, I will probably stutter the whole entire time because I am petrified inside of communicating with people that I don't know. I can totally admit that at 52 years old. And I've always been that way. Like I said before, I'm a great loner, maybe because I'm an only child. And I came to this country with my parents. Yeah, I had second cousins, but they weren't really close to me. I was very much alone all the time. I was sort of kept to myself most of the time. Maybe that's why I wrote as early as I did and kept writing, even though I went to school and I majored in psychology because I had to make money. Writers, we all know they don't make money. Not the ones that do it for passion anyway. I think that was a huge reason why I became a writer because I could be alone with my thoughts and my laptop or my paper and pen, you know, as how I started. If I could have La Mariolita with anybody, hands down, oh my God, it would be my grandfather just to say thank you and to tell him that he lives inside of me every day and he is the reason probably why I created this rum for him.
I would imagine that he would be exceptionally proud of you and truly appreciate the quality of the spirit. This is a wonderful rum. And really, can't thank you enough for spending so much time with us, sharing your story. I'm going to be drinking this for the rest of my life. And so, as long as you make it, I'll buy it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I
And now
appreciate it. Go ahead.
I don't know. There's a Total Wine in Kentucky.
Yeah, there's Total Wine and Spirits here.
So now we're gonna very soon be in Total Wine in Kentucky.
Oh,
So
that's
we're
great.
already in Florida, New Jersey, New York, and California, but we're gonna also now be nationally with Total Wine.
That's great. We'll make sure to emphasize that in the post production. That's awesome. Hey, thanks for spending the time. Thanks for the free bottle of booze. This is wonderful stuff.
Enjoy.
I
No
love
fashion
it.
for your wife.
I'm sorry?
Make an old fashioned for your wife.
I will.
I want to.
Definitely
I want
going
to.
to. She's going to love it. I think it's wonderful, just neat. I drink most spirits neat. I'm very British in that sense. I think I got it from my dad.
That's what should be enjoyed, so you can really taste the pureness of the liquid.
It's a pleasure to meet you, Janet, and I wish you great luck in the future. I expect we'll keep in touch. We'll get a copy of the video once I edit it to Caitlin, and she's going to do some snippets out of it for marketing purposes. Then this is going to go up on my YouTube channel. I have a 10 rums you shouldn't drink and the alternatives. Obviously, this isn't in it because I didn't have it in there, but I would definitely have it as an alternative. I think this is going to be a great episode for my YouTube channel. And feel free to use it for whatever marketing purposes you'd like to. It's just a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Likewise, you made it very easy for me. I'm so grateful for your time and for even paying attention to us. And salud.
Absolutely. Salud. That is so good.
I agree.
All right. You have a great day.
You too.
Take care.
Bye.